So this panel is about the Neo Community Initiative, which is growing the Neo community and the ecosystem, and making sure we onboard people efficiently that are interested in the project and just looking to get more familiar. So our panelists include, and you guys can come to the stage. This is Fabio Canison. He's the founder of City of Zion and Next. Development community, City of Zion, a development community geared towards supporting the Neo blockchain core and ecosystem. Next to him, we have Alex DiCarlo, who is the founder of Neo Tracker and lead developer of Neo One, which are two really neat tools for the Neo community. And Dean Jeffs, who is the founder of Neo News Today. He has worked with agencies in the advertising and branding space through his position at Code Brewery to assist with the scoping and execution of digital projects. He has overseen web and app development for brands such as HSBC and American Express. And this panel is moderated by yours truly. Soft fork, surprise. My name is Alex Mozgov, and I'm the editor-in-chief at Coin Central, where we've written about a lot of these projects over the past year plus. And it's been interesting to see the community grow, and I'm also the head of content at a New York City-based marketing agency where we've seen the whole community grow from a marketing point of view as well. So it's been super interesting. I think events like this are very awesome. We've got a great panel here. So I just want to allow the speakers here to kind of like touch on some of their experiences and how they've been able to help the Neo community grow. Do you want to start off?
Yeah, sure. It's a pleasure to be here. I talked this earlier. Neo community is, I would say, a little different from my perspective because we have been building a community inside a community. I would say that my experience has been great, and what we see and what we strive to do in City of Zion is to really get the people that do. Hundreds of people, even thousands of people look for us and say, oh, how can I join City of Zion, and how can I be on your community? And we have a simple rule, is just do it. After you do, you're gonna be in City of Zion. So it looks like it's a small barrier, but it's a big enough barrier. So I'm actually very proud of our community because with time, with this simple rule, we get these doers. So I'm really excited about the Neo community because people actually build stuff. It's not people only talking about stuff. That's awesome.
Right, yeah, and it's one of those communities that like you have to be building stuff in order to start progressing and meeting people because you share the projects you're working on. And other people are like, hey, I'm also working on something kind of similar, and then you guys collaborate and like amazing things happen. So it's just been awesome to watch that community grow, and yeah, it's awesome. So Alex, you've been working on a lot of cool tools for the Neo network. So I'm very interested, I'm sure the audience is as well, like how has that helped the community grow in certain aspects?
So I think, so the project that I'm working on right now is called Neo One, and it's basically an end-to-end development toolkit for smart contract for decentralized app development. And so I think that this will help really bring more people into the Neo community. So make it really easy for them to build a decentralized app with basically zero knowledge of Neo or even blockchain in general. In terms of Neo Tracker, I think Neo Tracker is a fairly approachable blockchain explorer. We tried to make things as easy as possible so people can be onboarded into the Neo network. Providing a web wallet that, for example, doesn't require you to enter script hashes for NEP5 tokens. We just make sure that they're all supported and they just automatically show up on your balance. We also try to do things like have good support on Facebook. We get lots of messages every day with people having issues for one reason or another. We try to be as responsive as possible and try to help people out as much as we can.
Awesome, yeah, it's great to hear like those tools are constantly being built out to facilitate just people becoming more and more familiar with the Neo platform. One thing I've seen with the Neo network is there are very few projects out there that can pack an auditorium full of 500, 600 people that are just all about Neo, want to hear about developments in the community. So I think that's really awesome how things have been developing that way. And Dean, with Neo News Today, I've seen some of the videos. There's some really awesome things going on. Could you shine some light on the audience with what you guys are working on?
Yeah, so I started Neo News Today basically just to try and report what was going on in the Neo ecosystem in a responsible way. I don't know what it is about Neo, but especially, in the early days of it, in the rebrand to Neo, it would just attract the wildest theories. Like, I'm sure everyone knows Hongfei is going to be the next president of China, and they're going to be the only ICA platform for China and all this kind of stuff. So I just wanted to create a space where, this information was just given out in a way without any hype or shill. We don't talk about the market. We don't tell you where to put your money. We don't talk about price. As far as I'm concerned, the price is the least interesting thing about what's going on in this space. I also try and help City of Zion and whoever, we did a bunch of Q&As with the council. So as City of Zion was forming, I was trying to help the community understand what it was they're trying to do and encourage other developers to join the community as well. So I guess what I do at the end of the day is just really connect enthusiasts with information. And I just try and do that in a way that isn't trying to coerce anyone into doing anything. I think everyone's smart enough to know where they want to put their money if that's something they want to do. And if someone wants to join the development community, we've grown pretty fast. We've got a fairly big following on social, and we get a lot of traffic now. So I think we're going to be the touch point for a lot of new people to Neo. And I just want people to be able to find the right channels to get where it is they need to go and find the information they need. So that's essentially what I'm trying to contribute here.
Absolutely, yeah, that's an extremely valuable insight because you've kind of got a battle for information going on in all aspects of the media where it's like, who's putting out this information and why is it valuable and what's their end goal here? So it's very hard to find people that are objective and trying to get the information out there for the sake of building a community, whereas other people would have a sort of not even thinly veiled interest in what they're promoting. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very awesome that we have publications like that. This is a more open-ended question for everyone here on the panel, which extends to the entire audience at some point as well. What are some things that we can be doing to keep growing not only just the Neo community, but the community of people that are semi-curious about blockchain, whether they're developers or just non-technical people, but they want to find ways to get involved?
Well, can I take this first? Yeah. I would say that education is really important. There's a lot of noise about blockchain out there, but most people think that blockchain is Bitcoin buying and selling. And this is, maybe we laugh about it, but this is not only normal people, let's say everyday people, even the CEOs of big companies that are driving, the CTOs even worse, they're driving this huge behemoth of hundreds of $billions. They don't know about blockchain. They think that blockchain is Bitcoin. So there is a huge undertaking that we should take in educating about the possibilities. So a project like Ontology that just presented, it goes miles ahead of what they understand of blockchain is. So I believe the whole industry should try to educate a little more than just the financial part of it.
I agree. Basically, you said education, connecting. If someone wants to get involved, connecting with good information. Don't try and sell them on anything. Connect them with good information. Let them make up their own mind. And if you do that, I think that I think you do a good job of getting people involved in the community.
Yeah, I think information is the key here. I think there's also a component of building tools for people to get onboarded quickly, because for developers at least, like sometimes going and trying something out, doing is the best way to learn. And so having those tools available to make it really easy to just like go and build a smart contract or build a decentralized app and see it working and see that this is what the capabilities are, what the possibilities are of blockchain can be really helpful. I think another thing that just Neo and maybe the blockchain community in general could do is really start to shift from being speculation driven into actually producing real value. So things like Nex, for example. Nex will produce real value for people. But a lot of the apps that are out there today are just ideas. And we need to, in the next year or so, or in the past year, there have been hundreds, thousands of ICOs. And I guess you have to ask yourself, how many of those have turned into products, right? And so in the next year, I think what we should be measuring blockchain by is not how many ICOs we have, how much market cap we have, but how many real products get produced and provide value to the community. And I hope Neo, in particular, is successful at that.
Absolutely, yeah. And one of the things I just realized, we've got a pretty interesting panel here because we've got like our two people here, Alex and Fabio, are more like developer focused and building communities around like developers. And then like me and Dean are also focused more on like introducing non-technical people to these more technical concepts. So I've also got this sort of idea of, it's kind of like a two-lane highway where we want to get more developers onto the developer track to help build products in the ecosystem. Because the more successful these products are and the more innovative and exciting the ideas are, the easier mine and Dean's jobs become to kind of facilitate the flow of information to them.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm trying to think of what is a way that the whole community on like the more media, non-technical side and the more developer-driven growth community side could come together to really keep growing the community, other than like events like, you know, Neo's DevCon, which is awesome because we've got a very diverse crowd here from developers to more non-technical people. City of Zion meetups are a good way to get involved that way.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking in 2018, there's a lot of things that are going to be done this year. What are ways that people like us and us could really push the needle forward towards having a whole massive adoption on both ends?
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to ask here, who here is a developer? Please raise the hand. Oh, it's a huge part. I was expecting that. From these people that are developers, who here has ever received a reward from City of Zion? Please. Yeah, cool. So the other guys that raised their hand first, look for the guys from the second hand. Yeah. Then we're going to grow 10x. So I think that's it. People forget that the people in the internet is people. It is not a computer on the other side. There's someone typing that stuff. So if we get these small people to connect locally, this reflects in the community. So we are doing these meetups, or there's events like that. So we cannot have an event like this every day. Amazing thing where we have these amazing guys here. So build tools, like Alex is building tools that make people more easy to join, and people who is already on the ecosystem connect with people who is just coming in, and we're gonna grow crazy. I think the secret for blockchain is people. Yeah, it's not a very fancy one, but it works.
So I'd be curious to see how many people have built something on blockchain before, with a show of hands. It's probably about half the hands that rose for out of the developers, right? How many people have built something on Neo? A little bit less, but actually about the same amount, really. It's interesting. So I think that's a good representation, right? We have a lot of developers here that are obviously interested in blockchain, and so we need to make it easier for them to go and try it. So I think from that end, we need to build the tools to make that happen. And I think we also need to get the word out about blockchain in general so that they have more incentive to do that, right? There needs to be a business application, or you know, the usage of the blockchain needs to be there. There needs to be enough users for people to want to go build on blockchain. So it's not only just the tools, but building the entire community so that there's consumers available for these businesses.
I'm going to steal something you've said in the past, and it's that everyone's got talents, right? We don't just need developers. You know, there's people who are lawyers, marketers, designers, writers. I'm looking for writers, so if you're a writer, come talk to me. But everyone's got individual talents that they can bring to the table here. So as far as, you know, getting people involved, like you were saying, I think about what you're good at and how you can use that to improve the ecosystem and improve the user experience, because I think we're all going to benefit. You know, it's not just development work that we need. We've need a lot of skills to make this into just from a random technical thing that people think is just Bitcoin into something that everyone can be a part of. So don't think that you can't contribute just because you're not a developer. I'm not a developer, and I also think my opinion has always been try not to overreach and do too much too soon as well. Like, start small and build something really good, and then grow from there. Because I see some people sometimes jump in, they want to do something really big, and they just get disheartened because they can't realize this vision. Well, they don't have the time. We've all got jobs and stuff like that as well. So, start small, do something of value, and then grow it from there. And I think that's a good way to bring people into.
Yeah, and that makes a very excellent way to tie in a lot of the ideas that all three of you have kind of communicated. Is there's a certain intimacy to these sort of panels where it's more of a conversation with the audience, and this whole conference in general, it's 2 days and there's workshops after this, so it's and I'm not sure I just speak for myself only here, but you're more than welcome to talk to anybody on this panel and say, hey, I heard you're working on this and I really want to get involved. How can I get involved? So we're all open to having more and more people get involved that way. But then to touch on what Fabio was saying as well is you actually have to do it. There's a lot of people that, they come super excited and they're like, how can I do this and this? I want to have 10 articles up next week and I want to write like this whole entire new blockchain by next week. And then they just get instantly demoralized because they don't hit any of their checkpoints. So it's like start off small, write for yourself, write code for yourself, have the community look over it, and then get moving from there. So that being said, I'm also curious about where we go for our information other than our own platforms. For example, I love Reddit, even though it's full of its fair share of garbage. I like Steemit. Steemit has a really good cryptocurrency-focused content, so I'm wondering where you guys go for your sources of information.
Oh, Neo News Today.
I got a Reddit.
That's a tricky one. I will go back to people. I know this is a little tricky because before you are connected, you try to gather from the broadcast, right? Let's say people who is broadcasting. But after you are in the community, you're gonna know the people, so you're gonna be talking with them, and you're gonna know the issues because someone told you about the issues. You know opportunity because someone told about the. So I really believe the chat platforms like Slack, Discord, and so on are really powerful. Yeah, and it's crazy. Maybe you guys did that here, and you talk with someone for some time, and now you are seeing his face. Then 1 week after, you go back to the chat, and it's a completely different thing. The dynamics change. So, yeah, I think the chat platforms is the best one, and connect to yourself. So consume the broadcast. It's a curation of information that you need, right? There's people who filter what you needed, then go to the chat platforms as quickly as you can. And as I said, so Dean said anyone can do stuff. I'm looking more at the developer side for sure. But from City of Zion point of view, it's just that you connect there, you do some stuff. Do not expect someone to do for you, right? Yeah, I think San Francisco is a great place to have a DevCon because of that. The innovation culture here is really strong. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. We value things done. Then you connect to yourself. You're gonna receive so many information. You want to filter out that because it's crazy. Every day is happening something new.
So I mostly use Reddit. I think this is an interesting question because I honestly think there's not really a good source of news, or not a source of news, but a source of information for blockchain today. So recently I was working with a designer who has no experience with cryptocurrency or blockchain, and I was trying to explain it to him and so that he could come up with a good design, right? And I was like, I was Googling, how do I explain blockchain to this person? And there was not a lot of good content out there. There was some very superficial blockchain videos on YouTube that I could find. There's some that I could find from IBM, but they were also sort of superficial, and it just astounded me how many people are in blockchain, it seems like, but there's not a centralized source of information. There's great news sources like Neo News Today, especially within each community. But if I want to know why does blockchain matter, put that into Google and you will find nothing of use. And so I think that's actually something that's kind of missing. There's news sources. Reddit is okay. You're gonna see mostly people shilling their new favorite coin of the week or whatever. But it's interesting. There's just not really a lot of good sources out there, I don't think, right now.
As far as where I get my information from, I try and talk to projects as much as possible. I prefer to get information from the source. You know, I talk to a lot of the City of Zion boys in private on Discord or whatever, and you know, by now I know a few of the projects on the ecosystem as well. So I try and get my news from the horse's mouth whenever I can. Obviously, I still do browse Reddit and things like that as well. But a little bit to your point, you know, like I was saying before, Neo News today I think is going to be the touch point for a lot of people that are excited about Neo. Like, we've only been around since September, and we're already reaching like 500,000 page views, and we've had something like 18 million tweet impressions and something crazy like that. So what I want to do is bring in some more educational content onto the platform. You know, stuff like maybe animated videos to explain what a private key is, what a wallet is, you know, how to use it, the difference between gas and Neo, and just try and ease them into the waters a little bit more, because like you were saying earlier, it's too difficult for the average person to get into blockchain. So I want to bring some of that, so when they do come to us as their first, you know, their friends shared an article about some awesome project they need to look at or something like that, they've got something there to kind of tell them what that means or how to get involved. And so I think, yeah, that's what we're looking to do to contribute to that issue, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah, and I see there's a lot of like intersectionality between a lot of aspects with blockchain. You've got a lot of, you know, Chinese startups working with like American startups or European startups all over the world. You've got blockchain experts sending each other memes of like, you know, like just crypto memes that are just really funny. Media people working with, you know, developers to like make sure their content on their site is just on point and just really good. So here's to just encouraging that collaboration further. We've got a few minutes for questions, so if anyone has any questions for anybody on the panel, now's the time. We got one over here. Do we have the little fuzzy microphones?
One fuzzy microphone coming up.
All right.
So you were just talking about startups, and my question was related to adoption in the community, startups versus existing industries. So for example, I'm a software developer. I've been doing blockchain development for a while, and all of my startups, I always integrate cryptocurrency, whether it's a tipping system or what have you. So how, in your opinion, is it more important for startups to adopt, to start adopting blockchain more, or for existing institutions to start adopting more? Which one's going to make a bigger impact first?
Well, we'll open it up to the panel, but my quick thoughts on it is just wherever the blockchain really applies and whether there can actually be a solution using the blockchain. There's a lot of enterprise potential and there's a lot of startup potential as well. I've seen a lot of projects kind of jump ahead of enterprises and start using blockchain to solve problems that the enterprises are too slow to really recognize and start moving forward towards. So those are just my quick thoughts. I want to open up that question to you guys.
Yeah, sure. Startups, I think, gonna be easier to adopt blockchain, and not only for tipping systems. Okay, so for tipping system and accepting cryptocurrencies, then companies gonna do this very fast also. So, but I think as applications broader than that, startups gonna be faster. We have all these innovator dilemma issue, the competing internal products. So even if this startup is sponsored or funded by a big company, I think this is a quicker setup. You have to have in mind that blockchain moves really fast. Like 6 months ago, Neo was a completely different project. So this is not something that you can put back in an organization which has a whole organization structure which is much more slower.
Yeah, I think I agree mostly, but I think the question is a little bit hard to answer because we haven't seen a major institution really implement blockchain yet. I think once we see, I think there's like a Telegram coin or something coming out at some point, like we'll see what happens then, right? Does that cause mass adoption, or is that just like some trivial thing on the platform that nobody really uses? I think that'll be interesting to see. But I think you're totally right about, for enterprises, there's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of, I would imagine, a lot of legal barriers and uncertainty in blockchain, particularly because blockchain is not regulated very well in pretty much any country in the world, that it's just a risk to go and implement that technology. Because you might turn around the next day and find out that you're in China or you're in the U.S. and they have banned all cryptocurrencies for whatever reason on whatever grounds. So I think implementing it as a startup is typically going to be like, startup is already risky. You're willing to take some more risk. Try and get some cryptocurrency payments in there is probably good. But for enterprises, I totally agree. There's a lot more challenges, I think, for large institutions to do this.
Yeah, I don't know how much I can really add to that. I was thinking what you said, when the question was asked. I think it's most important to apply it where it's relevant and not just use blockchain for the sake of using blockchain. And if you do that, I think you've got more chance of it being successful and being usable and being adopted than just trying to use it because it's the new hype tech of the times. But obviously it would be good if existing enterprises were able to adopt it because they've already got a user base and a brand name and all that kind of stuff. It raises the profile of the technology altogether. But obviously it's easier for startups, like you said, they're a lot more nimble and can take those risks. So I think that's how I feel about it.
Awesome. I hope that kind of shed some light on the topic. We've got time for one more question, I think, over here.
Company and follow up on kind of what you said about enterprises. I'm here as an outsider looking how can the blockchain help our company, and we're always hearing, well, why don't you develop a system for maintaining medical records, right? We're not going to do a whole software platform. We do want something from our business. How can someone like me connect with people in the development community who may have an idea that may synergize with what we do, and we might offer, say, a patient population to try it out with, or maybe some sponsorship? How can we get something like that going? What's the best entree to that?
I would probably say the access to information is going to be your key to anything, and access to communities such as like City of Zion, where Fabio has a network of all these developers that are working on all these projects. So chances are, if he doesn't know someone that is working on something similar, chances are someone in his network as well. So there's a huge networking sort of opportunity that can be done anywhere in the world, because just because someone in our immediate network isn't working on something, there's people all over the entire globe working on different solutions that can be provided. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, sure. I know some people that is doing exactly like that as well. So it's a new industry, yes, but it works like any business, right? So you look for some company who is doing that is specialized on that stuff that is not your core thing, right? You stay in your core thing, then you connect and do a partnership and you go ahead. So there's a lot of startups doing medical records on the blockchain. You should really talk to them and establish a partnership and go ahead. Yeah, there's not much friction. It's business as usual. We are a little hacky and crazy, but it's business as usual.
I think like one problem is finding those. Like, how does he find those initial? I think the way that you do that is by contacting, City of Zion, or like sending emails. Honestly, just blast out emails to every single blockchain like company, City of Zion group, Neo. Someone will respond eventually and say like, hey, these guys might be interested in what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. I get emails all the time from people who have a suggestion for a project I've got nothing to do with. Like, it doesn't cost you any time, it costs you 30 seconds and nothing to send an email. And a lot of the times I get emails and I can help, I can point people in the right direction. So, just reach out to someone who looks like they may be connected, and if they don't get back to you, you haven't lost anything. But they might put you in touch with just the person you're looking for. So I would just say, yeah, just reach out.
Cool. I think we've got time for just one more quick question right here.
Hi.
Hi.
Just one question, maybe not the best one to ask at the end, but what do you guys think about the future of technology being possibly off-chain with technologies like the Lightning Network? And if it is looking like it's going that way, what do you think about the risks of centralization?
Well, I guess the risk of centralization are just the standard risks you'd have centralizing anything, which I think you guys would have a little bit more insight to that from like the developer world.
Yeah, so as Professor Zhang said, the system has, it wants to be decentralized, right? Entropy wants to increase. So I'd say that people will fight centralization, and even people doing these second layer platforms, they do not want centralization. I'm actually pro any of these initiatives. I say this is very open for everyone. I think Lightning should succeed, and all the other solutions should succeed. It's going to be good for blockchain in general. It's going to be good for Bitcoin. But I think we should improve the base. There's little research in blockchain. I think it's great, the Open Foundation initiative from now. We need to increase the science on the base and get farther before going to second layer and third layer solutions. Then we get this monster that we have to maintain somehow. So I think we should improve the base as much as we can first.
I mean, you can find a lot of information online, I think, about off-chain solutions and how centralization affects them. But I definitely agree. It doesn't matter whether you're layer 1, layer 2 solution, like the base layer still needs to be fast, right? If the second layer solution starts to break down for whatever reason, and suddenly your dispute layer, the base layer, requires a lot of transactions to go through, like it still needs to be fast. It still needs to be, it's a critical piece of the infrastructure. Even if most of the transactions, most of the time are happening off the base layer, the base layer is still critical, and it should still be as fast as possible. In terms of centralization, I think, yeah, I'll leave that to Google, to be honest. There's a lot of arguments on both sides, right? You've got your proponents for Lightning Network that will say that it's not going to be centralized at all. Anyone can build a hub, whatever. You got your other people on the other side that say, like, well, everybody's going to centralize around these central hubs, these central payment channels. So I think it's somewhere probably in between the two.
I don't think I have much else to add. I'd just be repeating what they said in different ways. So.
Right. Okay, awesome. Well, that concludes our panel. I want to thank all of our panelists here. Yeah.